Hi everybody, welcome back to Painters Guild. I am Will Friedle, and we are here to take one more step on our artistic journey from going from neophyte miniature painter to, well, as good as we can possibly get. The first time we got together, you remember we learned how to prime and kind of prepare the miniature. Last time we were together, we learned how to kind of paint overall, and we got into some of the more detailed painting. Pretty happy with the way it turned out. And on this episode, we're gonna learn even more of the detail painting and really how to, I think, finish off the miniature from here. We are joined once again by our special guest and my first teacher, Mr. Matthew Mercer. Thank you so much for coming back.
My pleasure, of course.
I appreciate it. And I just want to jump in because I've been having so much fun. How about you? So let's roll up our sleeves and do this.
Let's do it.
All right, so what do you got for me next? What's the next step on our journey here? Because so far, I think this is pretty good, and I'd be done right now, but I'm not even close, am I?
No, well, you're getting close, actually. The next bits are my favorite part because it's where things really pop. And the next bit is gonna be the washing phase. So washes are water and ink-based liquids that you use to kind of completely cover the model, and the inks seep into the cracks.
So this isn't paint?
No, it's an ink and water based mix. And so you have different types of colors. We have like a violet one here if you have more of like a violet based mini. They have Reikland Flesh Shade, which is more for like fleshes, like humanoid skin.
Okay.
Like this crimson one for more like reddish creatures and scales. The sepia one's good if you want more of like a brass or gold color.
Cool, yeah.
I generally run with the Nuln oil for most things because it's like just the general black kind of shadow. And for creatures that are supposed to be this dark and the colors that are already dark, that's probably where we're gonna go with. So,
okay.
Let me go ahead and move these off. So this here, you can see it's got a little bit of the liquid in the bottom.
Yeah.
So these are the brushes here. You want to, for the wash brushes, you can actually purchase wash brushes at various hobby stores, but they're a little softer. You want them to absorb, and you do large passes over the miniature with the ink and try and spread it out within the crevices and
Now, is ink gonna spread differently than paint? Or does it pretty much all go on the same way?
I mean, it goes on the same way, but watch me first.
Yeah,
it's a very different beast. So, like here, I've absorbed some of this ink, right?
Yeah.
Put it off there. See how it just kind of fills and spread it over, but it fills in all the little folds and gives shadow. It gives depth where there wasn't any previously.
Now you're going over the white and the red too, so that's okay. It's not the kind of thing where you got to stick with a certain color. You can just go over every color that you've done.
You can if you want to, if you want to be a real stickler for it. However, I find, especially for something that's going to be dark and shadowy like these creatures, it generally just fills in the shadows and makes it look more dark, dingy, dangerous. Any other D word you want to think of? Deranged. Deranged is a good one. But even like that mouth right there, you see how it already looks more shadow.
Totally pops it. All right, so I'm going in here.
So you want to go over, you want to have any areas that have too thick ink, but you just spread out until it kind of fills the little areas and begins to show that shadow pop.
Wow, yeah, it does make a difference, doesn't it?
Very quickly. The wash is one of the fastest gratification moments of any sort of model painting in my experience.
Really?
You're just like, oh, it's already looks so much better and I've barely done anything. Ugh.
Now, a question, why does the brush have to be softer for this? Is it to take the ink?
Yeah, to actually absorb the ink and get enough to the point where you're not having to individually ink every small detail.
That makes sense.
Because the wash doesn't have to be, you can be kind of quick and
it doesn't have to touch every little thing, right? Because that'll also show shadow, won't it, if you miss a little spot?
If you miss a little spots, I mean, you still want to touch everything, but you get more surface in a shorter time with a softer brush.
That makes sense.
This is what, when I first put on my Skaven army back in the day, I was like, oh, now they look like diseased, matted rats, finally, you know?
Finally, diseased, matted rats!
You can quote
and a sentence never before uttered in the history of the English language. Those are my favorite. You know that has never been said before. Finally,
diseased,
matted rats, said no one in Europe in the 1300s.
No.
Now, how much of a difference would it have made had we used violet, something like that? Can you tell the difference in the ink, or does it all come off kind of just dark?
I mean, it'll still come off dark, but the violet will have more of a violent tint to any of the existing shaded areas.
Gotcha. Will this also highlight or cover some of the mistakes I've made?
It might cover some of the mistakes, actually. Because it seeps into those corners where you may not have gotten enough paint.
Right.
And will help you hide those areas as well.
There are some of those corners.
I love any trick in painting that goes like, oh, I'm sorry you made a mistake. We'll just go ahead and throw that under the rug. Nobody will know.
Yeah. Well, that's, especially for somebody like me where I'm just starting, that's a wonderful thing to hear. How's that?
It's pretty good.
Yeah?
So now, you let that dry, and it'll dry pretty quick. It'll take like maybe 15, 20 minutes or so.
Okay. So what is our next step then?
The next step is dry brushing.
This dry brushing I've heard so much about. I cannot wait.
Alrighty, so first you want to get some relatively stiff brushes for your dry brushing.
That is what she said.
Hey-yo. Oh God. And make sure they don't fall off ever. So we'll go ahead and go with this one. This is your standard dry brush. You can see it has a very kind of bristly, firm top.
Yeah, and very flat across it. Some of them look like we're kind of angled a little more, and this one is just, boom, straight across.
Yep. And so what you do for the dry brushing, first off, you need to pick out a paint color that matches the brighter color you want on the surface. So you had chosen earlier.
Yes, the
dragon blue.
The dragon blue.
Let's find a color to match with that as well.
He needed the money. I'm sorry, I had to.
On that note, do you want to get like a medium gray to mix with that to kind of match the undertones?
Well, so what exactly is this for? Like, what am I going to be doing?
Actually, that's a good point. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to take the brighter color, a fairly lighter color than what you have on the base there. You're going to get a very little bit on the tip of the brush.
Okay.
And you're going to rub it onto a paper towel or something until it's pretty much completely gone from the brush. You don't wet the brush. The brush is what's called dry brushing. The brush is dry with the paint on the tip, and you get most of it off until it's just a little bit of almost like a dusting on the tip. Then you're going to run it lightly across the surface, and what it's going to do is just the very, very raised edges are going to pick up the color.
Wow.
And it's going to cause highlights.
Okay.
And it's going to add more depth to it. You're going to have the things that are closer to the surface or a little more raised are going to have a brighter color.
Okay.
And the ones that are recessed are going to stay dark. And so it gives dimension and color and makes everything just pop three-dimensional.
Now, what are the chances that I'm going to somehow screw this up and there's just going to be streaks of blue going down my
It's very possible, which is why you want
It's very, very possible.
It's very possible, which is why I'm saying you want to start lighter.
And then work
your way in. Like, air on less paint and drier at first, and then you're like, it's not making much of a difference. Then you just increase the amount until you get to a nice steady amount. Because if you're like, oh, cool, looks dry.
And then
shit.
Right. Okay, so curiously, you've got the darker one. What are you going to dry brush something that's a very bright color like me, or are you going to go something a little more muted?
I'm going to go kind of a grayish white, actually, is my intent on this. So we have the white there already.
Does that make more sense than popping out something like a blue, or does it not?
I'm saying if you take the blue and the lighter gray and mix it together, you can do it, or you can just dry brush a blue on there, and it'll have like kind of a weird kind of almost reptilian blue.
That's kind of what I want to see what happens there. Let's see.
You want to try that out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, it's trial and error.
Yeah,
right?
man, let's do it. Let's do it.
Trial, but what the hell?
It's fine.
We are here to learn, and by learn,
this.
it learns a fancy way for make mistakes. Is what learning means. I think in Greek, but I could be wrong.
I'm going to show you this here. So before you do anything now, I'm just going to give you an example of kind of what I'm talking about. So there's.
Okay.
So when I say dry brush, I get the very tip there. Just get the very, very edge of it in there.
Okay.
And then on the napkin, I get rid of most of it entirely. It seems like I've pretty much wiped it off.
Right.
But now watch as I run it over the surface here.
Huh. Oh, it makes a total difference. Look at that.
See, now all those raised edges pop against the dark shadows.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's essentially what you're doing with that brush is you just get a very, very faint little bit and then dust across the surface of the raised areas.
That was straight up Bob Ross, what you just did there with the very, very little bit. Straight up Bob Ross.
Harnessing him here today.
Dude, straight up Bob Ross moment. Okay, so tiny little bit.
Yep.
Okay.
And then you get a paper towel. I'll give you one of these here.
Perfect, thank you. And then, so we're gonna come under here.
Yep, that's probably a good amount right there. And find a surface and start to just gently brush against the raised areas. And there can be a little trial and error on this. But there you go. You see how it's starting to fall?
Yeah, is that kind of coolish?
That is really cool. If you wanted to, you could even add a little bit of gray and white to that if you weren't happy with the color to kind of make it mix. But like even that's kind of like a cool kind of bluish texture to it. So
it is kind of neat.
I'm digging it. And it might look different right now because it's just so stark against the rest of the dark figure.
Right.
But the more you blend it in everywhere, it'll begin to pop with its own kind of alien blue.
That makes sense. Now, here's a good question for something with the dry brushing. How often are you going back and adding more paint?
Once you start feeling it's not making a difference to any of the surfaces you're going over.
So as long as there's still blue being put on there,
yeah,
then don't worry about adding more paint.
Correct.
Copy that.
Remember, you're always erring on the side of less than more, so keep going until you're pretty dang sure that the brush isn't putting any more color on. And so what this represents are the highlights where most of the light in any sort of given scene would be hitting the surface areas.
Okay.
And the shadows just have that much more depth to them. And more advanced techniques, you could even dry brush brighter colors on certain angles to give the illusion of a light source.
That's cool. Or shadow, or...
Yeah, exactly.
So now, is there anything I can do, for instance here, where I look like I hit too much? Mm-hmm. Can I spread it out more? Is there a way to
It's hard to spread out some more. What you do is you would go back with some of the darker color.
Okay.
And go
some
over
of the
that
darker color, some of the, like the
yeah.
Gotcha.
But for now, yeah, you say you want to err on the softer side.
Right. Well, it's like, okay, like with this stuff.
Yeah, you got some great stuff over here, too.
Yeah, that's cool, right?
A lot of painting is fulfilling a stage, going back, tweaking the things that didn't quite work, filling in those areas. And it's just trying things out as you go.
Well, it's also like anything else in the world, it's the way to get to Carnegie Hall. Just practice.
Exactly. You may not nail it 100% the first time, but that learning experience is imperative for the future times you try it.
Sure.
And once again, the cool thing about paints is any mistakes you make, you can just paint over and
go and
try
paint
again.
over and start again. Yeah.
Don't ever stress out if something gets messed up or you have a splotch that happens you weren't expecting.
That area right there.
Yeah, but like that we can fix up.
Okay. Now, can I dry brush only one color?
No, you can dry brush as many colors as you want.
I'm going to do my best to ruin this even more, if I can. And I might put a little gray in there. Do you have a little mixing brush over there I could use? I don't want to...
Sweet.
I saw you use a different one, so I want to do the same.
Just try that one out.
Oh, wonderful.
See if that works for you.
So I'm going to do a little mix here. I will be astonished if this gray and white doesn't somehow turn into black. I break it, but it'll happen. There we go. It's not too shabby. Let's see what we can do.
Okay.
Let's see what we can do. So now we put in a little bit on the end of our brush here. I'm going to see if I can go over and try to fix kind of some of the... Because this is crap.
It's not
this
crap.
Little section right here. It's awful!
It's not awful.
It's awful.
That just has a small smudge.
And you're just... Well, the smudge is small and then goes up there, which makes it a large smudge. See. So what are the possibilities of... Because I'm showing it on this side here where it's not good. Of doing pretty well and then ruining your entire thing while dry brushing. I'm saying, does that happen? Can that happen where it's like, oh, I just ruined everything I've done?
No. I mean, you'd have to really kind of fight any sort of mistake you make to get to the point where you've ruined everything you've done.
Okay, pointing out
once again,
mistakes right there. You go right there.
But once again, with painting,
you can just go over it
and try again.
I getcha. Now, here's another question that I have.
Yes, sir.
And I know the answer already, kind of, because it's a very personal thing. But when is enough paint enough and you just have to walk away?
When is enough?
Because sometimes you've ever find yourself overdoing something where it's like, I should have stopped this a while ago. I was done a half hour ago and I'm still tinkering.
I could say, yeah. But as the nature of any artist, it's whenever you're happy or you tired to stop.
Artist and happy? Come on.
I know, which is why either you're happy or you just say, enough is enough, I'm done.
Right. I'm walking away. I'm throwing this in the fire and starting over.
Yeah, I mean, depending on your obsession with perfection, which I've seen some artists and some painters that like really do not stop until it's...
Which, of course, when it's something artistic, there's no such thing.
Exactly.
Unless it's literally Michelangelo's David, which I'm sure even he was like, the penis should have been bigger. Like, he wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, even he didn't think it was perfect, you know? But, I mean, he walked away going like, man, wasn't that not my best work? And it's like, really?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can never... There's no such thing as perfection in art. I guess it's only perfection to you.
Exactly, which is why I can't really give you that answer to that question because it's relative to each person.
Right, but I mean, that's yeah, so that's the thing is, I just wonder, there's some times where it's like, it's the analogy of rebuilding a motorcycle where every time essentially you go to try to build it or tweak the engine, you're just making it worse. And you keep trying and trying and trying and you're just making it worse. And I'm wondering if it's the same thing with this, where it's like, I can keep painting it, but I think I'm just making it worse.
I mean, it's definitely possible, but if you have a mistake or you think it's making it bad, then you just go and fix the mistake.
Yeah, that's true. That's pretty cool.
So that looks pretty cool. So
all right.
So what you do is when you're pretty happy with when you're done dry brushing what you have available,
right?
Then we'll go back and we'll fix the few you want to repair real fast.
Like that.
Yeah, we'll get that.
And we'll get that. That's just there's no words for that. This is the side of him that no one likes. This was Larry and Daryl and his other brother Daryl nobody wanted. So I'll have to go back with the regular gray to fix that then. Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, because we're going to have to.
I go over and dry brush areas that may need a little more definition. Sometimes there was a little less paint on the brush, and it doesn't quite pop as much as I'd like to. So like I'll go and do other areas and be like, oh, this area is still a little darker. Might use a little more light paint on the ridges, so I'll go over it a second time and eventually get it to a level where I'm happy with how much it's popping against the rest of the shadows and the washes we put on earlier.
Okay, so now I want to go back to, oh, poor little bastard, right there. But it doesn't look quite as dark because it's not inked, right?
Right, and we'll go back over and do a quick ink over that.
Wow, see, I'm learning the techniques. It's great because you're just right away just erasing that mistake.
It's that easy to fix.
That easy to fix. And then there was one other, and by one other I mean a lot more. But I'll just do the one other, which was on the leg area, which was that one I did. I wanted that. I think that's good just for the actual big mistakes, because then we'll just go over that, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So go ahead and get the blue dry brush.
I got my blue dry brush. A tiny little bit.
Yep. And
then
even more. There you go. And then just kind of run it all across the wrinkles that way.
On this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Over here maybe a little bit?
Yeah. And then on the very top up there as well. Especially when you're dry brushing, because the light you generally consider as being from an upward or somewhat high angle.
Okay.
You want to make sure that the top areas definitely get dry brushed enough to the point where
it really pops.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's looking pretty slick.
That looks pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it does.
This side doesn't look too shabby.
No.
Look at that.
There you go.
Looks like I did it myself. And I helped. Now, will you normally just dry brush one color, or will you go in normally? Would you then dry brush, kind of more red on the mouth?
Well, actually, that's the next step of the dry brushing is you dry brush details.
And okay, so then we're
So if you wanted to right now, while the other side's drying,
yeah,
we'll go ahead and get your bright red color.
Yeah.
Right, that you have here. I'm going to take a little bit of the bright red myself as well. Now for your dry brush, you want to make sure it's really dry.
Okay.
Yes, like squeeze it between the paper towel. Thankfully, dry brushes are a little open to a little more abuse. I would say because this one's a little thinner.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and use this one for your dry brush detail because you can get a little more.
Okay.
A little more in there for the tongue and the smaller areas. And then just get along the top and the edges. Yeah, see how it kind of catches the edge of the tongue there?
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, look at that.
Right? This part has to be fixed. But other than that, that's where we're waiting to dry a little bit.
Looks pretty dry now, actually. Want to go ahead and do a bit of a
just a
wash on that
Just
one?
a quick wash on that.
There you go. And so for that one, go ahead and use this wash brush here. And since it's just a little bit, you don't have to like...
Right. You don't have to saturate it. And
yeah, just enough to get the areas
Copy
that you need
that. Copy that.
While you're doing that, actually, can I grab the dry brush you were just using?
This one? Thank you are, sir. Glad we can share brushes.
Me too.
I like that. It's very friendly.
Be careful about sharing brushes, by the way.
I don't think that's the after-school special you think it is. I shared his brush, Mom.
Go ahead and do some dry brushing on those spots that you repaired.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah. Go against the grain of the ridges.
Against the grain of the ridges, so... something like this.
Like that, yeah. So, now comes the question for you.
Am I done?
Are you done? Is there anything else you want to do? Give a glance over. What other things on it do you want to detail and update? Are you pretty happy with how it looks?
I gotta be honest, I'm pretty happy with how it looks. I mean, I am. There's obviously things I'd want to change, but overall, I'm actually pretty happy with how it looks. What do you think? What would you think I should do more of? Or what should I be looking? That's a good question. So what should I be looking for to know if I'm done on me? You seem to know where, okay, here's where you want to hit, here's where you want to hit. So what exactly should I be looking for?
If there's any spots in there that look like it has a lot more shadow, like the light balance is kind of off between the spaces.
Okay.
Then those are the places that you would go ahead and add more detail to and kind of do more dry brushing around to kind of blend with other things in the vicinity. But that's entirely up to you.
I think I'm good. I do. I think I'm good. I think for what I've learned, I'd give myself a B minus.
I give you a solid B.
Solid B. Okay, I'll take a B. I'll take kidding for a first day. I'll take a B.
Hell yeah.
I will take a B
for having
and run.
For having no experience in this at
None.
all, you've come quite a ways.
Yeah,
there, man.
from my magic marker, and it wasn't even like good magic marker.
You've earned it, buddy.
Wow.
There we go.
Sweet. It's not too bad for my first try.
Not at all.
I'm gonna call him Neil.
Neil?
Yeah,
Neil's
I don't
a
know
good
why.
name. He looks like a Neil.
He looks like Neil. His name is Neil Rittenhouse. He was born and raised outside the Cincinnati area. It's all about the backstory.
Yeah. It's a strong one. I'm invested.
I would. I'd watch it. Yeah. I mean, God, who doesn't want to see if Neil can make it on, as a showman?
I can.
Yeah.
I can see it.
I think I've definitely learned a ton from you and from being here, and
I hope so.
This is amazing. So we have to have a huge thank you for our first and special guest, Mr. Matthew Mercer. So if we can give it up for Mr. Mercer, please. Give it up for Mr. Mercer. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, man.
This
Seriously.
is awesome and so amazingly cool. Send us some pictures of your own stuff. See what you're doing out there. I'm sure it's going to be way better than mine, but I'm going to catch you eventually, I swear. And we've got some other amazing painters that are coming out here. Some incredible, hopefully teachers. Hopefully I can be a worthy student to how good of teachers they are. I hope I was able to not just frustrate the hell out of you today.
No, I think I frustrated the hell out of you, if anything.
Certainly a good teacher. I know I need to work on my patience. I just want to jump in and paint.
You did great. You did great.
But I really appreciate it, and it's night and day from where I started to where I am right now, and hopefully the journey will continue. So thank you again for coming, and just remember, every great masterpiece started with a single brushstroke. So thanks again.
Master.
Ish.